Hi guys, I want to talk to you about the conditioned mind. So the conditioned mind is a secondary mind different to the one that we're born with. So the one we're born with a conscious mind. We're born with this pure conscious mind, which is like the blank canvas as this report. This is a conscious mind it's a pure awareness, and that consciousness stays the same throughout our life. It stays the same as whether we're one or whether we're 101. It's the same as whether we're healthy, whether we're not healthy, whether we're whatever. It's that purity, it's that pure consciousness, it's that awareness. Now, what happens is we develop a conditioned mind. We start developing that. We start developing it early on, but we start to maybe become more conditioned around sort of the ages of six and seven and eight. And this conditioning comes from our life experiences. This conditioning comes from society. It comes from our parents. Conditioning comes from our teachers, from the TV we watch, from the media that we take in, from food we eat, from all these different things. When we go, our parents sort of want us to be a certain way, so we learn these behaviours and these traits that our parents instill into us, and then we go to school, and then we're put in this education system that suits some people, doesn't suit everyone, and we're told to follow a certain way of learning. And this all sort of goes towards what the sort of system of society where we're expected to go to university and then go and get a job and take a salary home based on the work that we do, which is probably a little bit more above the money that we need to live, and it's just creates this system and this set of conditioning. On top of that, all of our experiences add to that conditioning. So, like I say, what we see on TV, the things we take in from soap operas, from the news, from different other forms of media, the things we read in the paper or we see on news feeds, the things that our friends say, the things that we hear people say, the way we're taught to think. This all adds to this conditioned mind, which means this conditioned mind becomes stronger and stronger. And what happens is your conscious mind gets overwhelmed, and your conscious mind stops controlling our lives, controlling our mind. Consciousness stops controlling our mind. So an example of this is a 5-year-old. If I use an analogy I use this analogy of a corridor. A 5-year-old, in their mind, the clarity of their mind, this allows them to look up a corridor. If you imagine a corridor, allows them to look up a corridor. This corridor is very clear, very pristine. All the doors are closed. There's no one in this corridor. Imagine it's like a school corridor, an office corridor. There's no one in this corridor. It's just perfectly clear and lots of clarity, and they can see a door right at the end, and that's that clarity of them, and that represents that clarity in their mind. Quite often, as adults, if we're representing the clarity in the same way, or representing our mind in the same way, we'd look up that corridor, and there would be people coming out of different doors. There would be chairs and benches and bins and that in the corridor. There would be all sorts of things within that corridor which would cloud our view, and we wouldn't be able to see that door at the end. We'd just be able to make it up and finally sort of make out what the door's at the end of the corridor. Now that represents our mind as adults. And all those things that come in are judgments, are doubts, are experiences, they're sort of toxic, or they're beliefs. And they're all based on our experiences throughout our life. So, like I said, the conditioning about our parents, our school, and all those other things that we listen. listen to. And it's all a lot of it's fear based. So then on top of those conditions, he'd be hurt in some way. We might be hurt from a relationship. We might be scared by something. We might have some sort of trauma that gives us fear. Then that fear is added on top of that conditioned mind. That limits us from making the choices that we've got the potential to make. So by this conditioned mind getting more and more conditioned, layers and layers and layers of conditioning, this completely stops us from achieving the potential which our natural state of a human being is the possibilities of a natural state of a human being to achieve is off the scale. And that's the state that we're born with. That's that clarity. If we have that clarity in the mind, our possibilities to achieve are endless. But with all this conditioning, with this mind that then now takes over our life and ends up making all of our decisions for us, it tells us what we can do, what we can do, what we can't do. It takes away a lot of our creativity. It puts restrictions and limitations in place and stops us flowing, stops our energy flowing, and stops us flowing in life, and takes over and prevents that creativity and prevents achieving great things. And what we've done in society, we've forgotten how to be clear and how to be pure. So, and then you get to a certain age and you start trying to look for that pureness again, because you've worked for so long and you've got so much in your mind and you've got such brain fog, and in life you're just sort of tired of all this information and all this stuff in your head. So you start unraveling it and you start trying to find some space, trying to find some peace. You start wanting less. You start driving less. When I say driving, you start driving for less. And you start unraveling it. You start to find space. Then you realise that about this conditioned mind and what this conditioned mind is doing. And you realise that actually you do have control over it. You can control it. This is your monkey mind or your ego mind, your conditioned mind. You have control over everything. With that conditioned mind is what causes anxiety and depression and stress. And what we start to realise and what we need to realise is that we don't have to be that. All these illnesses, all these conditions come from our conditioned mind, which is just built up through thoughts, through experiences, through fear, through things that have happened. That's not the true nature of us. It's not true nature of our human being. So what you need to do, you need to start unraveling, and you start unraveling all these conditions and letting go of all these experiences and all these toxic situations, all this fear and all these doubts and all this judgment, all these biases. You start unraveling and start letting go of all them, and it just starts becoming clearer. Everything starts becoming clearer, and you start to realise that you can find sort of stillness in your mind, and you start to expand that awareness and start to live in that conscious state. And your life, if you do that, your life changes immensely. You find peace, you find joy, you find happiness. That's the true nature of a human being. But you've got to dissolve this conditioned mind, because this conditioned mind is just experiences that have happened in the past. That's what causes depression, and that's what causes the fear that creates anxiety on anything we do moving forward, anything we're trying to achieve. The more we live in that present state, the more we get purity, we get peacefulness, and we get clarity of our mind. To live in that present state, we need to unravel all those layers, and we need to let go of all those toxic situations, all of the times that have hurt us. They're in the past. We've taken lessons from them now. We don't need to hold on to them. They're in the past. They've gone. We need to let go of them, and we need to move on, and we need to be present, and we need to understand this time, and we need to let that conditioned mind dissolve. So I just want to leave that with you, just a little bit to talk to you about that conditioned mind. Have a great day. Cheers.